Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my show here, Americana Sam. I am joined today by a legend in the rock world, Mr. Tommy James. You will know him as one of the great pop and rock singers of the 60s and 70s. He's somebody who's still going strong today with his touring. He has a radio show that he hosts on Sirius XM channel 73, 60s Gold, called Getting Together with Tommy James. You can catch him on the road all over the country throughout this summer and into next year. Tommy, it is a great privilege and an honor to have you here on the show today.
Well, thank you so much. It's great to be with you.
Yeah, this has been something I've been looking forward to for several weeks now, and to get to talk to somebody like yourself with the history that you have, with the impact that you have in the rock and roll world is truly a humbling experience for me. So
well,
I really
thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this. I mentioned in the intro again that you host a radio show on Sirius XM, and I know a lot of people want to know about your past, but I'm also interested a lot in the present. So can you tell me a little bit about Getting Together with Tommy James on Sirius XM?
Sure. Well, we're in our 8th year now, and when they originally came to me, I was, to do the show. I didn't know quite what to say because I was a little scared, to be perfectly honest with you, because as much as I've been on the radio in my life, I've never been on that side of the microphone before, and 3 hours a week they were talking about every Sunday from 5 to 8 p.m. And of course the audience is international. It's literally all over the world. And so 3 hours every week is a lot of time to fill. And so they wanted me to play some of my own music in addition to all the music I loved, from other people. And so it sounded fun, but I didn't know how it was going to work out. So, I started doing it. And by the second or third show, I'm having a ball. And so it's gone on for over 8 years now. And I'm still having fun. So every Sunday, Tommy James Getting Together. And when they told me to play, they wanted me to play my own music, especially at the head of every hour. I said, can I go to jail for that? On the radio playing your own songs, something seemed a little, I don't know, a little sinister about that, but it has all worked out great. And I really thank them. And everyone up at Sirius XM is really terrific. And they've really let me just do whatever I want to do. And so I'm very grateful for that.
Well, that's what I love so much about Sirius XM, because I listen, and I'm a big fan of the fact that there isn't really a formula like so much of the radio stations now that are all owned by a conglomerate. That right. Sirius feels like the way it should be.
That's right. You're absolutely right. And what's so great about being freeform is that I sort of create my own format, and so I've sort of, unlike the other disc jockeys on Sirius, I kind of divide it up into sets, and I can play friends of mine, and I can do some interviews with friends of mine and other artists. And so it really has been a joy to do this. And of course, during COVID, it was incredibly important because the concert business was shut down for almost 3 years. And it was a great way and still is a great way to stay in touch with the fans. And of course, I can tell our audience exactly where I'm performing this particular week. And so it hasn't been bad for ticket sales either.
That sounds like the perfect blend of working kind of on your own time, but also able to promote your shows, play the music that you like, not get bogged down with having to play what they're making you play.
Oh, right.
That's got to be a great feeling. One of the things that fascinated me in, looking over your life and researching for this particular interview. I did not realize that your publishing company, Sony, has given you essentially some liberty to record and work on music for films, coming from Motown, the Beatles. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, Sony bought all of Roulette Records Publishing, the early stuff. That was the label that the Shondells and I had most of our hits on. And so Sony, Warner Brothers purchased the masters, the recordings, and Sony purchased the publishing, the ownership of the copyrights. And so they've been great. They really have. They represent me in films, television shows, commercials, represent my music, I should say. And they have just been great. Our songs have been in 90, I believe it's 93 movies, major films, and something like 65 TV shows, network shows, and commercials all over the place. Also, it's global. So, it's like riding a big horse. They're all over the world. And, if I, for example, had a commercial, Mony Mony in some commercial in Argentina, well, I would never know. I would have no way of finding out. Sony, because they have representation in every single country all over the world, knows immediately, and they collect royalties for me for those commercials and movies and so forth. And then I get paid through Sony. So it really is a wonderful relationship, and I'm very, very happy. Recently, they've asked me to do, they just purchased, this is almost unbelievable, they bought the Motown, all of Motown's music, the entire catalog. That's Gordy Records, Motown Records, Tamla Records, Soul Records. And they also purchased the Beatles, the whole catalog, all their songs. And they asked me if I would consider doing recording as an artist, a couple of songs from each catalog for film. So I did, and I'm right in the process of doing it now. I recorded, I picked, you got to be careful doing Beatles songs too, because, the fans can get on you if you don't do them well.
Yes, they can.
And also, you don't want to just make another clone of a Beatles song. So you got to do something a little different. So I picked, the two songs that I picked were You Gotta Hide Your Love Away, which was an album track that everybody knows, but it was an album track and it was never released as a single. And we did it sort of gospel-y, churchy. I brought in a choir, and because I always loved the big hood. Now, John, when he sang the song, sang it with just an acoustic guitar and his voice. It was wide open for production. So we really did it the opposite way. We did it like you're in church. We did it gospel-y with a choir, and it really came out nice. And so we just turned that into Sony, and they really flipped over it. And we also did one from the Motown catalog. I did Where Did Our Love Go by the Supremes, their very first song. And we did that in a very different way too. So I'm very happy with those two. And we're going to do two more, one from each catalog. So I haven't decided yet the songs I'm going to do there. But anyway, that's how I'm being treated by Sony, and they are just wonderful. And let me do kind of whatever I want, and they've been wonderful.
I listened to the two singles that you mentioned, and they are, like you said, they're almost there's standalone tracks. You wouldn't think Supremes or the Beatles. I mean, it's a Tommy James tune now, and I really enjoyed them and listening to both of them.
Well, thank you.
That's got to feel. I mean, you know, you've worked so hard really to get here, to have that kind of that free ability of just, you know, pick any song from these catalogs and we'll work with you. That's
right.
That's a great feeling.
And you know that nobody told me what to do, and which I'm very surprised about. But it's wonderful, and it's great to have that kind of freedom.
Well, you were talking about you know, just your songs being everywhere, because they really are. I mean, you know, like so many other people, I probably heard your songs first through others, or you know, the songs that you covered back in the '60s. I know, you know, obviously Mony Mony, Billy Idol, I listened to as a 13-year-old, you know, many years ago, and had no idea where it came from, that, you know, it was an old tune that went past the 80s. But what that must do for you and your audiences must bring you such a diverse group of ages.
It really does. I look out at our concert crowd and I literally see 3 generations of people. And who didn't come with each other, you know. They all came individually. They all know the music, and I'm very, very blessed and very proud of that. We've also had over 300 major cover versions done of our songs, from Dolly Parton to Prince to REM, and so on. It's just been so great. Billy Idol and Tiffany, of course, kind of started the ball rolling. Joan Jett, but it's just been amazing and really wonderful to have. I'm very flattered and honored that other artists think a quick way to a hit is to do one of our old songs.
Well, I was very interested to ask you, and I'm sure you've been asked this before, but particularly your song Crystal Blue Persuasion, with it being used in Breaking Bad, referring to, you know, the subject matter.
Yeah.
What was that like for you? Were you asked beforehand that they said, hey, this is going to be used in reference to, you know, this show about drugs?
No. But I was kind of surprised to hear it, because of course it had a very opposite meaning like that when I put it out. But hey, you take it where you can get it, I guess, you know. So at any rate, but they did a great job of placing the song there, and they used almost the entire record, and of course you get paid for the amount of time that it's in a production. So yeah, I was real happy with that.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's like a 3.5 minute segment of the episode. So good for you. Now, we were talking earlier about, you know, things that are happening that are newer for you, and I want to stay there still, because I did want to ask about the book that now is 15 years old at this point. Your book, Me, the Mob, and the Music: One Hell of a Ride with Tommy James. Tell me a little bit about the impetus with that book. And you were kind of saying something earlier that I want to share with the viewers about where that book is heading.
Yes, indeed. Well, the book, of course, is essentially an autobiography, with about 2/3 of the book devoted to our very crazy and tumultuous and sometimes scary relationship with Roulette Records, the label we had most of our hits on. And the reason it was scary and tumultuous is because, unbeknownst to us, when we signed with Roulette, and we found out incrementally, Roulette, in addition to being a functioning independent label, was also a front for the Genovese crime family in New York. And we knew nothing about that. And we learned it as time went on. We realized who we were involved with. And we certainly didn't know it before we signed with them. And that's essentially the story, this craziness while we were Mony Mony and hanky-panky, and this very dark and sinister story was going on behind us that we really couldn't talk about.
Mm.
And so I've wanted to tell this story for such a long time, for so many reasons, but I felt like I couldn't. And so finally, so many people were after me to write a memoir of some kind that we started writing a book called Crimson and Clover, my writing partner, Martin Fitzpatrick, and I. But we got about a third of the way into it and realized that if we didn't tell the roulette story, which really was the story, we were cheating ourselves and everybody else. So we kind of waited. We put it on a shelf for a couple of years till the rest of the roulette regulars, as I called them, passed away. And finally, when they did, I felt like we could write the book. And so in 2006, we began writing the book. And we're very honest and open about who we were dealing with and how things went. And we're as honest and straightforward as we could be. Didn't over dramatize it or under dramatize anything. And when the book came out in when the story was done, we immediately got a deal with Simon and Schuster. And then people started calling us for the Broadway rights and for the movie rights. And so as the book came out in 2010, and it started selling like an album, and it has never stopped. It jumped on the book charts then, and has never come off. We've been selling steadily ever since, and I must say I'm thrilled about that. That I finally got a chance to tell the roulette story after all these years. And now what's happening is that, we were going to do an in-theater movie for several years. And during COVID, Hollywood shut down, and then there was for 3 years, and then there was the writer's strike, and that shut things down for a while. So now things are up and running again, but the way to do a film now is not necessarily, at least in my opinion, to go for a theater movie, which kind of comes and goes in 12 weeks. And if you don't score big, it's just kind of forgotten. I believe the way to do it now is to do a series, a dramatic series, HBO type series. There's so many right now that are doing a multi episode series of about 6 or 8 episodes, where you can develop the characters, where you can really get across to an audience, and then it can be rerun, and it can go on the internet, and it gets seen by many more people than would ever see it in the theater. Right. And so I believe that's the way to go, and it looks like that's what we're going to do. We have new producers now, and the screenplay that we did several years ago is being rewritten, and for a series. We're having a lot of fun doing it. The next couple of years are going to be really interesting, and I'm so fortunate to have to develop this thing and to have it so people can see it. So that's my story.
And it seems to be happening at a very fitting time, because people seem to be very hungry for these music, biopics, these documentaries that are coming out. I mean, I know, the first thing that popped in my head, Jersey Boys, was a huge
Sure.
hit on Broadway about Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. You had the movie just recently about Bob Dylan. You had the movie Bohemian Rhapsody a few years ago about Queen, and these have all been huge successes. And so you're kind of coming along right at that time when people want.
And it looks like there very well may be a Broadway show after the film.
Wow.
So all this is coming at a time in my life where it really means something, and so we'll see what happens.
Well, again, it's fitting because, again, and just looking over your history, next year will be the 60th anniversary of the first Tommy James and the Shondells record.
Right.
Do you have any way that you're going to be celebrating that milestone, or is it just kind of?
Oh, yeah. Well, we're basically, we'll probably have, a 60th anniversary tour of some kind. But I must say, I just thank the good Lord and the fans for the kind of longevity we've had. It's really been astonishing to me. And I'm very humbled by it. I really am amazed that we're still doing this. And, even our first record, Hanky Panky, that I made when I was 15 years old, we're still playing.
You were talking about the Hanky Panky, and you were 15. People still singing these songs. But one of the things that I think is fascinating, and one of the main reasons that I decided to reach out was it popped up in my feed on YouTube that you all had just played Stagecoach, and to watch that, it was a quick set, 35 minutes or so. And I think you kind of made note at the beginning. You said, we don't have a lot of time. We're just going to shove rock and roll down your throat.
In your face, yeah.
In your face. And it's incredible to me how well you all are, like how well you all can play. And just, there are so many people that, you see from the 60s that sadly just don't have that magic, and it's almost like, they're sitting on stage. They seem, not to be in it, but seeing you up there and playing it at that level, it's just an incredible thing to watch as a fan, to see how much energy you have up there.
Well, thank you so much. I've been blessed with good health so far, and it's really a wonderful thing to be able to still do this. I must say that the crowd out there was fantastic. The day we were there was over 100,000 people, and they all crowded around the stage, and there were so many acts on that show. It was an amazing event, and we've done Stagecoach. I believe that was our third time. And so we love it out there. And so I'm glad you got a chance to see it. It's on YouTube, I guess.
It is. Yeah. I think they had put several of the sets up from this past year. And
it was broadcast all over the world, so it was a terrific audience, and I'm glad that playing live went down that well.
Yeah, it was. And I think I just froze here too. It was just, it was something. Yeah, like again, to see you all perform at that level is just a really, really cool thing to see.
Thanks.
Yeah, and again, I'm sorry about the freeze here.
Isn't technology wonderful?
It's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
When it works.
When it works, yeah. And then when it doesn't, you just have to kind of roll with the punches here. But I'll keep going here. I'm sorry that I'm frozen. Maybe I'll pop back in here. And I'll be finishing up here soon. one of the things that's interesting is, again, you're not a native to New Jersey, but you've been in New Jersey now for 50 plus years, it seems like. How did that come about? And tell me about a little bit about your relationship with little Steven Van Zandt. I know you all are friends.
Yes, indeed. Well, when I had a hit record right out of high school that I had actually recorded almost 3 years before that. I recorded it in late 63.
Mm-hmm.
Hanky, I'm talking about. And then in 1966, it was really a fluke. Only in America could this happen. I took my band on the road when I graduated from high school, and we were playing clubs in the Midwest on the road. And right in the middle of my 2 weeks in Wisconsin, the club owner gets shut down because he didn't pay us taxes. So we went back home to Niles, Michigan, my hometown, feeling like real dogs. And as soon as I got home, I got this strange call from Pittsburgh, from the record distributor in Pittsburgh, telling me my record is sitting at number 1. I said, "What record? What are you talking about?" He says, "Hanky Panky." And this thing I had recorded 2.5 years before, and I thought he was joking. I said, "Who is this?" And no, he convinced me he was who he said he was. And could we come to Pittsburgh and do some newspapers, do some press, do the radio stations, and play a couple of gigs? And so I couldn't put the original group back together.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went by myself. And when I got there, sure enough, Hanky Panky was sitting at number 1. They bootlegged the record and sold 80,000 of them in 10 days. And
Wow.
God bless the crook. God bless the crooks. That's the story of my life, you know. So at any rate, I quickly put a group together from Pittsburgh and a new manager, and went to New York to sell the master recording to a label. And we got a yes from everybody. And we thought we were going to be with Columbia or RCA or Atlantic, one of the major corporate labels.
Right.
But the last place we took the record to was Roulette Records. And that's kind of a story too, because I went to sleep that night figuring we're going to be with Columbia and one of the majors. And so about 10 o'clock the next morning, we start getting calls from all the companies that had said yes the day before.
Wow.
Saying, "Listen, Tom, we got to pass. I'm sorry. We on second thought, we're just not going to be able to do this." I said, "What are you talking about? Thought we had a deal." And finally, Jerry Wexler at Atlantic told me the truth, that Morris Levy, the head of Roulette Records, had called up all the other labels and backed them down. Says, "This is my record, back off." That's just how he talked too. So the bottom line was, that's how we ended up on Roulette Records. And but the strange part is, Roulette, I can tell you that if we had gone with CBS or Atlantic or somebody, we would have been immediately, especially with a fluky record like Hanky Panky, we would have been turned over to an in-house A&R man, and that's probably the last time you would have ever heard from us. At Roulette, They actually needed us, and we ended up, they took the record to number 1 all over the world. We ended up having 23 gold singles on Roulette Records,
wow.
9 platinum albums, and we sold over 110 million records worldwide of all of our records. So it turned out to be, from a creative standpoint, probably the best decision I ever made, going with Roulette. But of course, getting paid was a whole other story, and that's what we write about. That's what we write about in the book. You know, crime doesn't pay.
Crime
we found that
doesn't
out. Anyway, the bottom line is that going with roulette made all the sense in the world as far as our success was concerned. So I don't know if that was the original question you asked me. I kind of got off on a tangent there, but
no, I love to hear the stories. No, but well, I was asking about the little Steven connection because
yes, 100 miles away.
It's okay.
Yeah. Well, basically, Steven and I became great friends over the years, and he introduced me at the Hall of Fame in New Jersey, and I did the Jersey Hall of Fame. We're still waiting to get in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and
yes.
I would like to see that happen when the movie comes out. I think that would be a great 1-2 punch.
Yeah, that was one of the questions I had, is that, you know, you've been eligible for decades now, and you know there are so many other acts that are in that, you know, are questionably in, but you all have obviously made such a huge impact with your music and spanning so long. And you know, it's one of those things that, you know, we want to see as fans. We want to see you all in the Hall of Fame, you know, while we can see you perform and play the songs, and
while we're all alive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of these, you know, awards are given, you know, years later, and you know, you have the right to enjoy it, especially in, you know, the great health that you're in and that sort of thing.
Well, when it's our turn, we'll go. I always thought there was something kind of unseemly about an act saying, and doggone it, we ought to be in the Hall of Fame. I don't think that's appropriate. And when it's our turn, we'll go.
That's a very gracious approach. Final, I'll close here just with mentioning that you can go on to the TommyJames.com. You're on Facebook, you're on X, you're on Instagram. Find you everywhere on social media. And again, I'm sorry that my screen is messed up here, but please go to TommyJames.com. He has tour dates lined up, you know, for many months throughout this year. It looks like you're scheduled. You have at least a couple of dates going into March 26th. You're going to be on a cruise, it looks like.
Not on it. We're going to be doing the Bon Voyage party. And
very good.
That's the whole ship, and that's, I think, a lot more fun than actually doing the cruise.
I would get behind that. Well, Mr. James, this has been an absolute pleasure to hear these stories, to hear you, you know, share, you know, these upcoming projects. I encourage everybody again to go onto your site, purchase tickets. He's going to be somewhere close to you. I can guarantee it. Get the merch, get the records. Check him out on Sirius XM. This has been a thrill for me, Tommy, and I really do appreciate your time.
Thank you, Sam. It's been great talking with you. You asked all the right questions, too.
I'll take the right questions. You too, sir. Everybody, you all take care, and we'll talk to you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.